Hi there, I'm Betty Holmes, your trusty guide to the richly useless, sometimes absurd world where consumerism and capitalist culture meet interior architecture. Today, we're uncovering how our homes have been shaped by buying stuff, lots of stuff, and how history, technology, and great ideas all collided to create the spaces we exist in today. Now, this change reflected larger social and political shifts, individualism, globalization, and media influence. Interiors became less about mass production and more about choice, which meant buying more things to create your identity.
Consumerism. It's not just about buying a new canvas for the living room because yours is looking a bit ugly, though yes, that happens. It's a cultural attitude where buying more is tied to happiness and status, especially when it comes to our living spaces. Consumerism can be understood as a cultural outlook on which the regular acquisition of goods and services is encouraged, under the assumption that material possessions are linked to personal fulfillment and social standing. Its origins can be traced to the technological advances and marketing strategies that flourished during the Industrial Revolution. Henry Ford's assembly line pushed the boundaries of production, comforting the idea of consumption. Back in the early 20th century, the golden age of advertising launched the modern obsession with consumption. Advertisers promised that the right furniture would transform your life, make you successful, attractive, and cool. Interiors weren't just practical, they became symbols of identity. This era was shaped by innovations like radio and TV, meaning ads could reach into your home and beg for purchase. Geographically, consumerism is the strongest in the booming urban centers, shaping how cities and homes looked. After World War II, economic growth and mass consumption exploded consumerism. With soldiers returning home and the baby boom, governments encouraged home ownership and consumption as civil duties. The rise of suburbs meant new houses, new furniture, and new appliances designed for convenience and style. Modernism flourished, clean lines, functional forms inspired by Bauhaus principles, not just objects, but a lifestyle of progress and optimism. Technological advances in manufacturing made these designs affordable for many, tying interior architecture lightly to economic and technological forces. While modernism encouraged the term form follows function, postmodernism threw this concept out the window. Suddenly interiors could be playful, ironic, and wildly colourful. Consumerism followed, shifting from conformity to self-expression. Homes became galleries of eclectic objects, some loved it, some found it a bit much. The wants of people are always changing, and this extends past the consumption of small goods, and at its worst, falls into the category of building materials.
Interior design in Perth has changed a lot over the decades. What do you think has shaped it most?
Well, Perth's interior design practices have been shaped by major global influences, especially World War II. That period saw the rise of mass consumerism and globalization of advertising, which often conflicted with the health of Indigenous land. After the war, the media heavily promoted the American dream. You know, buy a quarter-acre block with a standalone house, get a family car and start a family, and also have weekend barbecues with your friends. That dream became globalized and strongly influenced Australian culture too.
And Perth really embraced that lifestyle, didn't it?
Absolutely. Suburban growth in Perth was exponential after World War II to accommodate European settlers looking for a better life. Housing mirrored the American suburban home, often with open-plan designs. This gave many immigrants the aspirations and home ownership they couldn't access in the home countries, making suburban living central to the Australian identity.
And I suppose companies like IKEA played into that?
Definitely. International companies like IKEA reinforce this culture by offering affordable Scandinavian flat-pack furniture, perfect for open-plan living. IKEA's global success is partly thanks to the Gruen effect, named after Victor Gruen, who was an architect behind the modern shopping centre. His theory was simple. The longer people enjoy themselves in a shopping environment, the more money they'll spend. IKEA adopts that approach with maze-like layouts, one-way systems, and no clocks or windows to keep shoppers disoriented, making them forget what they originally came there for. They'll spend more money than they intended.
But that comes at a cost, doesn't it?
Yes. The globalization of mass consumerism creates tens of millions of tons of waste each year, releasing pollutants into the air, water, and native land. It's the opposite of Indigenous land stewardship, which prioritizes sustainability and long-term care for country.
How has the invention of new technologies influenced consumerism and the interior over time?
Technological progress has characterised consumer desires in interior spaces. Since the Industrial Revolution, inventions like TVs, dishwashers, radios, and washing machines transformed daily life. These items were heavily marketed, becoming symbols of status and modern living, while also making household tasks more efficient, such as replacing hand washing dishes with dishwashers.
And from this came advertising?
Yes, advertising allowed producers to create this idealised image of domestic life for women, how they should live, what they should own or do or use to be living in this luxury state of living. An example of this created hyper-reality is Disneyland in 1955, as they promoted a vivid, perfectly constructed reality. However, not everyone could afford this fancy living.
Were these new ideas accepted or unaccepted during this time?
The Situationist international movement from 1957 to 1972 strongly rejected consumerism's capitalist basis, imagining alternatives like Constance's New Babylon, which valued creativity and play over commercial design. Meanwhile, new technologies inspired architects to rethink home layouts. Architects such as Louis Sullivan and Frank Lloyd Wright focused on form follows function, emphasising a building's purpose over decoration. Wright welcomed technological advances by introducing open floor plans and integrating kitchens with living areas. This fostered a more social and welcoming environment.
So, how did computers change things?
Although computers were developed in the 1940s, desktop models only became a regular feature in homes by the 1990s. This shift reshaped the design of both professional and domestic workspaces. Further, the introduction of laptops and tablets encouraged multifunctional interior layouts.
What overall impact has technology had on interiors?
Technological advances have changed interiors in style and use, introducing features like smart lighting, automated controls, smart glass, and sustainable materials. These innovations have made spaces more adaptable, efficient, and visually distinctive.
What about the influence of media today?
Social media distorts architecture by using filters and edits, creating unrealistic representations. As Thomas Heatherwick noted, Louis Sullivan's idea of form follows function has shifted to form follows Instagram. Platforms like Instagram promote visually striking spaces that prioritize appearance over practicality and experience, disconnecting us from how these places truly look and feel in everyday use.
Let's move on to design movements. In reaction to consumer culture within interiors, how have some of these movements been shaped through history?
Following the Industrial Revolution's mass production, the arts and crafts movement from 1880 to 1920 pushed back by emphasising handcrafted work and natural materials. Interiors focused on functionality and uniqueness rather than decoration, opposing consumerism's focus on mass-produced goods. Later, the Bauhaus movement from 1919 to 1933 embraced industrialisation with the principle form follows function, using materials like steel, glass and concrete to create affordable, practical interiors designed for the general public.
When thinking of this post-war period, can you give any examples?
Of course, during the height of consumerism, mid-century modernism in the interior flourished. The target of interior included simple open floor plans, new affordable materials such as plywood and plastics. This style appealed to people wanting modern, stylish furniture that was practical and affordable.
Were there movements that approached consumerism in a more playful or critical way?
Yes, the Memphis group in the 1980s took a very different approach. They embraced bold colours, striking patterns, and laminate finishes, deliberately rejecting the minimalist trends of the time. Their designs were both a celebration and a critique of the excesses found in consumer culture.
Which designers best capture these different attitudes towards consumerism in design?
Ray and Charles Eames made quality design accessible, combining function, style, and affordability in pieces like the Eames lounge chair. Philip Stark, collaborator of the store Target, focuses on usability with a playful, sophisticated approach, believing design should be for everyone. He values democratic design and said he aims to improve quality while striving to make design accessible to the greatest number of people at affordable prices. Together they show how interiors can either encourage consumption or make good design available to all.